is Nurfaizatin and our group is talking about the export and import in Australia and also about the issue that they will need to face. And okay, firstly is Australia is one of the largest country but can be seen as the smallest continent. And Canberra is Australia capital that located in the south between Sydney and also Melbourne. And Australia is the 55th largest country in the world in terms of the population number. And the most used language is the English, but Mandarin and also Arabic is also used by the people there. And for economic perspective, Australia is really highly developed, as the GDP in 2019 was estimated as 1.89 trillion Australian dollar. And also in 2017, they are taking place for 25th largest goods exporter and also 20th largest good exporter.
Warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nurfaizatin binti Makrozi with matric number 171240298. Okay, today I would like to present about my part, which is logistic and characteristic of mode of transportation in Australia and the challenge for this part. Okay, transportation modes describe how to get in or out of Australia. There are also factors affecting the selection of mode of transportation in Australia. The first is security. It is very important to protect the goods from partial and full damage. Second is transportation cost. When choosing transportation, it is important to know your budget, so that should be the important factor before you make a decision on your mode of transportation. And third is availability that should be considered too. Australia, air transport is used for goods entering or leaving Australia. It is used to import and export aircraft entering or leaving Australia. And the next mode for transportation is by sea. Sea transportation is used for goods entering and leaving Australia by ship or by cargo. And exporter in Australia is also use road as their mode of transportation. Road transportation is the only way to get goods to and from rural areas that are not served by train, by water or by air. And the next is for the challenge for this import on and export activities for this mode of transportation is first is the distance between capital cities are vast, so it difficult to do this transportation. And second is the weather in Australia is extreme, so it can impact the transportation of export and import activities in Australia. And the third is the transportation cost in Australia is expensive because it's due to their current exchange rate in Australia, so it will affect the cost for these transportation modes. So I think that's all for my part, which is the logistic and characteristic of mode of transportation and the challenge for this part. That's all. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Nurfaizatin binti Makrozi. I will present about the characteristic of shipping industry in Australia. Okay, in industry today, the shipping industry is very important in the transportation system. The changing role of the industry shipping giving the country an alternative to export and import the business. Therefore, in the in this part, our group select Australia to look at the uniqueness of the characteristic of shipping industry during shipping operation in Australia. Characteristic of shipping in Australia have the uniqueness of characteristic in their own, which are open registration system, trans-chart, and shipper association. The country with the largest shipping industry in its economic growth. This shows that Australia has a natural advantage in the maritime industry, where Australia is the largest island continent on Earth. For the first characteristic of shipping industry in Australia is the hallmark of the shipping industry in Australia is the open registration system. The feature of open registration system will give benefit from the allowing registered boat owner to the Australia. Conditions have been imposed on the foreign traders who wish to register on the international shipment of Australia. Okay, next is the Trans-Chat. Okay, Trans-Chat Australia has developed a government policy to help facilitate government organization and export-import in both government and private cargo sector. Okay, for the purpose of the Trans-Chat, Trans-Chat is to address the bulk of the cargo moving in the charter. Australia performs the verification in carefully and don't want to allow the problem in the shipping registration. Last characteristic, which is the shipper association. Shippers Association is a non-profit membership. It's a non-profit membership cooperative that carry out the domestic or international cargo that handling arrangement. This shows that government Australia strongly believe that the Shippers Association in Australia to manage the shipping industry. The problem and challenge activity in Australia are the cybercrime, the cargo collections, and the climate change. First problem in shipping industry Australia is the cybercrime. In 2018, the shipping company, which is the Caesar Australia, has suffered a disruption resulting in the data being leaked. Because cybercriminal in technology make it easy for them to access the sensitivity of the information from anyone in shipping industry. Not only that, the cargo collection has put a lot of pressure on the Australia shipping industry. Last but not least, the climate change also give the problem or challenge to the shipping industry in Australia. This is because the climate change are affecting the Australia shipping. This side, the challenge of the emission in shipping industry is very bad and will affect the shipping industry in Australia. Sea temperature and heavy rain and also the weather condition can affect the operation shipping in Australia. That's all. Thank you.
Good day, madam. My name is Ong Chile. Now I will proceed to the custom clearance of Australia. Australia has strong trade link with the rest of the world. Its geographical locations has also made Australia as a major supplier in the Asia-Pacific area. The Australian government has formulated policy aimed at developing and assisting the Australian company involved in the international trade. There are also regulations to protect domestic industry, consumer, and the environment from harmful and dangerous goods imported from other countries, such as tariff and duty, free trade agreements, and the last one is import regulations. For the custom clearance of import in Australia, all goods imported into Australia must be cleared by the custom through the border. The Departments of Home Affairs can provide imported with information about imported goods, such as import custom clearance requirements, prohibited goods, and import license. For the custom clearance of export in Australia, the goods of exporter must meet the custom requirements. This is controlled by the Departments of Immigration and Border Protections. The exporter must fill in the description of the exported goods on the custom declaration form. The integrated cargo system will analyze the information and issue the export declaration number. After the customs of the exporting country complete the export formalities, the customs authorities will obtain the necessary permits to transfer the exported goods. The customs authorities of the exporting country will take necessary export inspections procedures as necessary. For the problems of custom clearance of Australia, the first problem is the slow custom clearance. Obtaining custom clearance can be time consuming. After the Australia custom receive the import declarations, it may take up to 8 days to process. The payment may take up almost 3 days. If the importer has been waiting for the goods, it may take a long time to get it. The next problem is the lack of transparency custom procedure. The lack of transparency and complex custom procedures of Australia may lead to corruptions in custom administrations. Customs integration is becoming more and more important. The cost of failing to address the integrity issues of customs and other border agency is enormous. This is because it exposes society to the global trade posed by the dark sides of globalizations. For example, border agency lacking an effective integrity system may benefit organizer crime by promoting illegal trade and smuggling, which ranges from strictly prohibited goods to counterfeit consumer goods and pirated goods. That's all from me. Thank you.
Hi, Assalamualaikum. My name is Ainul Biha binti Rizwan, metric number 1712406160, and now I would like to present export documentation and stamps. There are 8 common export documents needed for Australian exporters. First is performer invoice. A performer invoice is a quotation that is prepared to resemble a commercial invoice. Performer invoice is not necessary documentation, but it is very useful when quoting paid terms. Second is commercial invoice. Commercial invoice is a single document detailing the entire export transaction from beginning to the end. There are additional certification and statement required by the purchaser's country, certifications to be issued by Australian government, Australian export control, payment and method and relevant regulation. The third is packaging list. The packaging list is to confirm the content of the shipment when it meets the trade list of the exporter and to show the weight, measurement and part counts of the shipment. A product summary, a reference to the appropriate commercial invoice number and item number, package, shape such as box or cartoon. Fourth is certificate of origin. Origin certificate is an important document in foreign trade, marking the country of origin of the product being exported. There are 2 types of certificate origin, which are generic certificate of origin and free trade agreement certificate of origin. The Australian Free Trade Agreement have been signed by 11 countries, which are Chile, China, Hong Kong, Korea, Japan, Malaysia, New Zealand, Peru, Singapore, Thailand, and United States. Fifth is instruction letter from the shipper. The standard shipper's instruction letter provides the freight forwarder with transport and documentation instruction, but usually does not provide detailed line item with level product detail that would allow forwarder to file via the automatic export system, which is AES. That is billing of lading. There are 3 types of billing of lading, which are inland billing, ocean bills, and air lading bills. The 7th is dangerous good form. According to IATA, hazardous goods are product or item that pose a risk to health, safety, property of the environment and appear on the list of hazardous goods in those regulations or referencing arrange for the buyer's fund is an important part of foreign sale process. It is often referred to as a historical sequence as the vendor applies reference to the gulf and the cover reference.
Assalamualaikum and a very good day. I am Hazi Hasram bin Abdul Halim, and now I would like to present about the Australia export and import activities, practices, strategies and challenges that the country face. Okay, Australia has a strong trade relationship with the rest of the world. Its location also made it possible for Australia to become a major supplier market in the Asia-Pacific regions. The Australian government has a range of initiatives aimed at establishing and assisting Australian companies engaged in foreign commerce. Regulations are also in place to protect domestic industries, consumers, and the environment from harmful and hazardous goods imported from the overseas. International trade is integral to the economy of Australia, and especially the shipping and logistics industries. Australia gets benefits from numerous free trade agreements with the other countries while importing and exporting goods from machinery and minerals to be top products that Australia export to the other countries. Wow! And the first one is mineral fuels, or slag and ash, gems and precious metals, meat, inorganic chemicals, cereal, machinery, aluminium, electrical machinery and equipment, and top products that Australia import from the other countries. And the first one is machinery, mineral fuels, vehicles, electrical machinery and equipment, medical technical equipment, pharmaceuticals, gems and precious metals, plastic and plastic articles, iron or steel articles, and the last one is furniture. Major issues, challenge or problems that faced by the Australia in exporting and importing activities in the country. The first one is the legal issue regarding compliance with government sanctions and regulations. Exporters from the overseas should be aware that Australia maintains sanctions and bilateral sanctions from the United Nations Security Council in respect of a number of the countries. Such sanctions mandate that Australian organizations and individuals comply with a number of regulations and even extend extraterritorially to Australian nationals overseas in general. Sanctions may include restriction on export and imports, prohibitions on technical assistance, training and financing, travel sanctions and financial penalties against specific individuals and entities. All of the exporters should be always make sure that they are following the right guide before doing any international trade in Australia. The second one major challenges that Australia face in the exporting and importing activities in the country is about the intellectual property, which is IP registrations. Exporters need to think about how they will protect their overseas intellectual property, which is IP, because IP protections can be understated overseas. It's vital to protect business in foreign markets. Exporters in Australia may already have IP protection, but they have to note that Australian IP registration only offers protection in Australia. Once their Australian registration is filled, they need to think about filing and filling foreign applications for patent within 12 months and for trademarks and designs within 6 months. It may seem overwhelming to protect the IP overseas, and that is why IP Australia has developed a suite of fact sheets called IP Passport. The fact sheets outline international IP regimes and concentrate on some of the IP problems and challenges Australian exporters can face. That's all from me.
There are few recommendations from our team for Australia. Okay, first, Australia can do capital improvements such as a new road together with operating a practice for public facilities. Second is the cost for facilities users, which is the fee, should be reduced if there is any primary benefit of the project, which can cover back about the cost. And third, the financing arrangement should be as early as the start of the project. Okay, next is solution for the cybercrime, cargo accumulation, and also climate change issues is by taking an insurance, as they can cover back about the losses that need to face by exporter and importer that have these problems, and also for the documentation and others problem with the export and import activities, is that they can always update it with the integrated cargo system ICL that's fixed by Australian Border Force. Okay, as a conclusion, the government, exporter, importer need to be a team to ensure that the export and import activity can continue smoothly so that everyone can get the benefit of that. That's all from our team.